Chosen one. Listen closely. You are standing at the threshold of a date heaven has marked with fire. September 26 is not another passing day. It is a divine checkpoint. A moment carved into the timeline of your destiny. To treat it as ordinary is to risk losing what heaven was preparing to pour into your life. Think of a locked gate in the middle of a journey. For weeks, months, even years, you have been walking, carrying questions, carrying weight, carrying promises that feel too far away, and suddenly, you stand before this gate. It does not open by accident. It only opens when the right day arrives. September 26 is that gate. Ignore it, and the path may remain closed. Step through it, and the horizon changes forever. I want you to imagine a story. There was a young man who carried visions in his heart that no one else believed in. He prayed, he waited, and he endured seasons where it seemed nothing was moving. People told him to give up, to live like everyone else, to bury what God had whispered to him. But the day came when he faced a choice. Would he obey the unusual instruction God gave him, or would he remain in the safety of routine? He chose obedience. That single decision shifted his entire life. Opportunities rose out of nowhere, and the vision that once seemed like a dream became his daily reality. September 26 will be that same kind of crossroads for you. As was spoken in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 3. The Lord is slow to anger, but great in power. The Lord will not leave the guilty unpunished. Do you see it? God is patient. He gives time. He gives space. But there are moments when patience reaches its boundary and power steps in. September 26 is not to be ignored because it is a moment when heaven watches for your alignment. If you resist, you risk stepping outside of mercy's covering. If you respond, you are drawn into power's embrace. Picture your life like a lantern carried through a storm. Winds howl, rain lashes, and darkness presses in. Yet the lantern keeps burning. Every gust only proves its flame is real. September 26 is the moment when that lantern is lifted high. No longer hidden, no longer small. It becomes a signal fire on the hilltop. A declaration to heaven and to hell that you are not shrinking back, you are rising. Do not mistake this message as coincidence. Heaven paused your scrolling. Heaven paused your thoughts. So this moment could strike your spirit like lightning. This is divine interruption. September 26 is too weighty to approach casually. So I ask you, will you step into this day with readiness? Will you guard your spirit, open your heart, and walk in obedience? If this message stirs you, let it be known. Share it so another chosen one does not miss their moment. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now, so you remain connected to every word heaven is preparing to release. Finally, to seal this moment, write in the comments the number 26, not as ritual, but as prophetic agreement. It is your way of declaring, I will not miss what heaven is about to give me. And remember, the heavens are watching. September 26 will not wait for hesitation. It is written into your story as a day of choice. Step forward with faith, and the blessing prepared will not pass you by. You stand now in the gravity of what is to come. September 26 is not simply a number on a calendar. It is a threshold between two realities. When heaven sets a time, it is because alignment is at stake. You have been sensing it already, an unusual stirring in your spirit. An awareness that something greater is moving beneath the surface. This is why the warfare has increased, why delays have seemed sharper, why the weight on your heart has felt heavier than before. Think about the times you almost gave up, the nights when your prayers seemed to fall into silence, the moments when betrayal cut deeper than you thought you could bear. These were not wasted experiences. They were the proving grounds, the refiner's fire, shaping you for this appointed season. A sculptor does not abandon a half-formed statue. He chisels harder, removing what does not belong, until the image emerges in full. That has been your story. And September 26 will reveal why the chiseling was necessary. There is a hidden truth in waiting. The waiting room of heaven is not like the waiting room of man. When you wait on people, time feels wasted. But when you wait on God, time is invested. Every second becomes a deposit that compounds into breakthrough. That is why the weight of September 26 carries both promise and warning. It is a line in the sand. Whether you step into fullness or remain in delay depends on how you respond when the day arrives. Let me show you an image. Imagine a river held back by a dam. For years, the water has been building, pressing, searching for release. On the outside, the surface may look calm, but beneath, pressure is mounting. Then, at the appointed time, the gates of the dam open, and water rushes forth with unstoppable power. That is what heaven has been preparing. September 26 is not about the dam being built. It is about the gates finally opening. What has been delayed will be released in force. But here lies the weight of it. Ignoring the moment does not stop the release. It only means the water passes you by, flowing to those who are ready. This is why discernment is crucial. When heaven marks a day, those who remain asleep miss what others inherit. And the sorrow of missed moments can last longer than the joy of sudden victories. In the ancient words recorded in the letter to the Romans, chapter 13, verse 12, the night is nearly over, the day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. This is what September 26 represents. The night season you have endured is coming to its close. Dawn is breaking, but dawn requires a response. Light is rising, but you must put on the armor of that light. To ignore it is to remain clothed in the garments of yesterday, unable to enter tomorrow. I want you to think of a runner at the starting line, every muscle tense, every nerve alive, every breath focused. He has trained for years. But in that moment, one choice determines everything. Does he launch forward when the gun sounds, or does he hesitate? September 26 is heaven's signal. If you hesitate, you risk losing the race. You were born to run. And so, no call to action is needed here. No outward gesture. No public display. Only an inward decision, made in the secret chamber of your soul. When the day comes, I will not shrink back. I will step into what has been written for me. That silent vow is more powerful than any announcement, because heaven hears it and records it. The weight of September 26 draws nearer, and the spiritual air grows heavy. You can feel it if you pause the stirring, the unease, the anticipation. This is not just another season, not just another page in your story. It is a turning point. Some moments in life fade into memory, but others stand like monuments on the road, reminding you forever that everything shifted there. This day is one of them. Many chosen ones before you have faced similar hours. In the scriptures, we see men and women brought to crossroads where their response determined not just their destiny, but the destiny of nations. Esther had to decide if she would remain silent in the palace or risk her life to save her people. Joshua had to call the tribes to choose whom they would serve. Paul had to obey the vision on the Damascus road or continue as a persecutor. Each decision carried eternal weight, just as yours will on September 26. Think of it like standing on a mountain ridge at dawn. To one side lies the valley. You've already walked dark, heavy, filled with scars, but also with testimonies of survival. To the other side lies the uncharted landscape of promise, glowing in the light of morning. The ridge itself is narrow. To pause too long is to risk falling. To move forward in faith is to claim the inheritance set before you. This is the place heaven has led you to. And September 26 is the day the choice is demanded. There is another picture to hold in your mind, a key placed in your palm. That key is not decorative. It is forged for a lock that has waited for your hand alone. You may keep it tucked away, treating it as a token, or you may rise and use it, opening what no one else can. September 26 is the moment to use that key. If you ignore it, the lock remains sealed. If you act, the door opens into promise. We are reminded through the writings in the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. This verse is not a casual suggestion. It is a divine demand for decision. To ignore is to drift. To choose is to stand. And heaven records the choice you make. So I turn to you now with a simple but piercing invitation. Comment: I choose. Why those words? Because they are short, yet powerful. They declare alignment without needing explanation. They are not about choosing comfort or delay, but about choosing obedience, choosing faith, choosing to step into what God is offering. When you write them, you are not just leaving words beneath a message. You are marking your spirit with decision. You are saying to heaven and to yourself, when September 26 comes, I will not shrink back. I will not drift. I choose. And this is not for performance. This is not about others seeing your comment. It is about sealing a vow in the presence of God. Sometimes the most powerful declarations are the simplest ones. Your journey to this moment has been long, and the road ahead will be glorious, but only if you decide. Do not underestimate the weight of choice. September 26 is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is arriving as heaven's trumpet, calling you to move. And those 4 words, I choose, may become the dividing line between what could have been and what will be. The closer September 26 approaches, the clearer the spiritual tension becomes. There is a sense of urgency in the unseen realms, as if heaven itself is leaning forward, watching to see how you will respond. Mercy has carried you through many seasons, even through moments when you stumbled, when you delayed, when you questioned. But there comes a time when mercy steps back to let responsibility stand in its place. That is why this appointed day is not to be ignored. Consider how Israel once wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Manna fell and water flowed, though they often complained and resisted. But there came a day when the manna ceased, not because God abandoned them, but because the season of wandering was over. They had to step into the promised land and live differently. The provision that carried them in the old season could not sustain them in the new. September 26 carries the same transition. If you treat it as another ordinary day, you may find yourself clinging to manna that will not fall again. Think of your life as a candle in a drafty room. For a long time, the flame flickers, bending under the winds, nearly extinguished, but still alive. Yet, when the winds quiet, the flame straightens, burns brighter, and casts light that fills the darkness. That straightening moment is what heaven is pointing you toward. September 26 will not be the end of your journey, but it will be the moment your flame stops flickering and begins burning with steady purpose. There is also a weight of warning. Opportunities are not endless. When doors open, they require a response. Ignoring a divine door is not neutral. It is a choice that carries consequence. Some doors, once closed, do not reopen. Some chances, once passed, do not return. This is not meant to stir fear, but reverence. You must understand the sacredness of the day marked for you. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. This is where you are standing now, at a crossroads, not of geography, but of obedience. The ancient path is not hidden. It has always been before you, but it requires courage to choose it. September 26 will be a test of whether you walk the way of comfort or the way of calling. Imagine again a vineyard heavy with grapes, waiting for harvest. The fruit does not wait forever. If left untouched, it spoils, falls, and withers. Harvest time is brief, sacred, and decisive. Heaven has been cultivating fruit in your life through seasons of pruning and patience. Now comes the harvest day. If you step forward, you gather the abundance prepared. If you hesitate, you risk watching the fruit fall to the ground. The silence you've endured, the waiting you've carried, the prayers that seemed unanswered, they were all preparation for this moment. They were not wasted. They were building in you a capacity to hold what heaven is about to release. But capacity without response leads to collapse. That is why ignoring the appointed time can undo what years of endurance have built. This section carries no call to action, no outward step. It is a moment of deep reflection. Your spirit must grasp the seriousness of what heaven is saying. Do not let this day pass as if it were ordinary. To ignore September 26 is to stand at the crossroads, see the good way, and walk away. September 26 is more than a date. It is a covenant moment. Covenant is not built in haste. It is forged through promises that endure storms, through faithfulness tested in the wilderness, through unseen sacrifices made in silence. When heaven marks a covenant day, it is not casual. It is heaven's way of saying, "Now, I will show myself strong for you." Endu. Think of Abraham lifting his eyes to the stars. The night was dark, his body was tired, and his heart was full of questions. Yet God spoke a covenant over him, promising descendants as numerous as the stars. Abraham could have laughed the promise away. He could have dismissed it as impossible, but instead, he believed and that belief was counted as righteousness. September 26 is your night under the stars. Heaven is waiting to see whether you will believe the impossible covenant spoken over your life. Or think of Ruth, standing at the edge of decision after her husband's death. She could have returned to her homeland, to what was familiar, to what felt safe. Instead, she clung to Naomi, declaring, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God." That declaration positioned her not only to be redeemed, but to enter the very lineage of the Messiah. One choice on one day carried covenant power. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 20, "For no matter how many promises God has made, they are yes in Christ. And so through him, the Amen is spoken by us to the glory of God." This is what September 26 embodies. It is a day when God's eternal yes is waiting to meet your earthly amen. Covenant is always two-sided. Heaven has prepared, but your agreement completes the circle. Picture a flame meeting oil. The flame has been waiting, flickering but alive. The oil has been preserved, sealed, waiting for release. When the two meet, fire explodes into something brighter, stronger, unstoppable. Heaven's flame is waiting. September 26 is the day the oil is poured. Your agreement is the meeting point where fire consumes everything in its path. This is why I must pause and invite you not as an obligation, but as a covenant act of resonance. When you resonate with a word, you make space for it in your life. Sharing it is like passing the flame to another lantern in the night, ensuring no one walks in darkness alone. Subscribing is like planting your flag on sacred ground, saying, "I belong to this journey, I will not wander from it." Liking is the gentle nod of your spirit, the whispered Amen that says, "Yes, I bear witness to this truth." Do not think of these actions as digital gestures. They are metaphors, symbols of something deeper. They are echoes of covenant. Just as Abraham looked at the stars and silently agreed, just as Ruth clung to Naomi without fanfare, your outward response becomes a reflection of inner faith. If your spirit stirs, let your response be voluntary, beautiful, free. Light your lantern. Add your star to the sky. Place your stone on the altar, whatever form it takes. Let it be covenant. Heaven sees even the smallest act of agreement and counts it as weighty. September 26 is not waiting for applause, it is waiting for alignment. But when alignment comes, heaven delights in every act that mirrors it. The enemy has been watching the same date heaven has marked. September 26 is not hidden in the spiritual realm, it is a flashing signal in the heavens. That is why opposition has risen around you. That is why old wounds have tried to reopen. Why doubt has pressed harder. Why distractions have multiplied. When heaven schedules a release, darkness tries to sabotage the delivery. Think of Nehemiah rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Every stone he lifted drew the attention of enemies who mocked, threatened, and conspired to stop the work. Yet Nehemiah did not lay down his tools. With one hand he built. With the other he held a weapon. You, too, are in such a moment. September 26 is a wall-building day, and the enemy will do everything to make you drop your stone. But hear this, opposition is proof of significance. If the day carried no power, there would be no resistance. The storm that has been swirling around you is not a sign of abandonment, but of confirmation. Hell does not fight what heaven has not marked. Picture yourself as a lighthouse on a jagged coast. Waves slam against the rocks. Storms howl through the night. Yet the light remains, cutting through the darkness. Ships that would be lost find their way because you refuse to go dark. September 26 is when your light will shine brighter than the storm, guiding others who cannot yet see. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. This is your instruction as the day approaches. Guard your heart against despair, against fear, against compromise. For if the heart is guarded, the attack cannot succeed. Everything you are called to release on September 26 flows from the condition of your heart. There is another story worth remembering. A woman once carried a vision that seemed impossible. She faced delay after delay, ridicule from those who thought she was foolish, and even betrayal from people she trusted. But she refused to give up. On the day appointed, the breakthrough came not softly, but with force. What she carried in silence became visible to all. Her story is your encouragement. Though the enemy rages, he cannot cancel what God has scheduled. And now, a prophetic sign must be sealed, not through long speeches or elaborate gestures, but through a number that becomes a marker of faith. I invite you to write the number 333 inches, the comments. Why 333? Because it echoes a divine pattern, Father, Son, Spirit, perfect agreement, perfect unity, perfect covering. As you type it, you are declaring, I align myself with heaven's unity. I will not be scattered. I will not be divided. My heart is guarded, and my spirit is ready. This is not superstition, it is prophetic symbolism. Numbers in scripture carried weight. 40 signified testing, 7 completeness, 12 authority, 3 has always spoken of divine fullness. By marking 333, you are agreeing with the fullness of heaven's covering over September 26. Let your declaration be simple, but let it be real. Do not comment because others do. Comment because your spirit says, yes, I am aligning myself. Yes, I am guarding my heart. Yes, I am ready for what heaven is about to give. And the enemy cannot steal what has already been sealed. But your declaration closes every gap, silences every doubt, and builds the wall that will stand when the storm rages. September 26 is coming. Guard your heart, lift your light, and declare your agreement. There is a mystery unfolding as September 26 approaches. Heaven has not abandoned its promise, but it is holding it back, waiting for the chosen to step into alignment. It is like the stillness before rain. When the air grows thick, the sky darkens, and creation seems to hold its breath. The clouds are heavy, ready to release. Yet they wait for the appointed signal. That is where you are now, beneath skies full of promise, with heaven's hand poised but not yet poured out. Think of Daniel, who prayed for understanding. For 21 days, he fasted and sought God. The answer was sent on the first day, yet opposition in the heavens delayed it. Michael, the archangel, had to come to ensure the word reached Daniel. Delay did not mean denial. Heaven was waiting for persistence, for endurance, for alignment. In the same way, what you have been longing for may feel delayed, but it has not been denied. September 26 is not the beginning of God's plan. It is the moment of release after a long season of waiting. Imagine a bowstring pulled back, taut and trembling. The arrow is ready. The target is in sight. But the archer holds, waiting for the precise breath, the perfect angle, the right second. To release too early would miss the mark. To release too late would lose the moment. Heaven is the archer. You are the arrow. The bowstring is stretched. The tension real. But the release is near. September 26 is that precise moment when tension turns to flight. There is a reason why God often delays. Delay tests faith. Delay purifies motives. Delay removes those who only walk for convenience. Delay ensures that, when the release comes, it falls into hands that will honor it. What heaven has held back from you was not withheld in cruelty, but in wisdom. To give too soon is to endanger the gift. To release at the wrong time is to risk collapse. The ancient words in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3 declare, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." This is the heartbeat of September 26. The revelation has always been appointed. The lingering was never permanent. And now, the delay is breaking. What you have prayed for, what you have longed for, what you have felt stirring in hidden places, heaven has paused. But only until you were ready. Picture a cocoon wrapped around a butterfly. Inside, struggle is taking place. The wings are forming, the colors taking shape. If the cocoon is torn open too soon, the butterfly cannot fly. But when the time is right, the cocoon breaks, and the creature emerges in strength. You are not stuck, you are in transformation. September 26 is not the tearing, it is the unveiling. This moment of pause, this prophetic holding, is not a punishment, it is a preparation. Heaven has paused to allow your spirit to catch up with your calling, for your heart to align with your destiny. The day is not far. The pause is nearly complete. So rest your soul in this truth. Delay is not denial. Pause is not punishment. And waiting is not wasting. September 26 will reveal why heaven held back. And when it comes, the release will be undeniable. Every chosen one must face a test of obedience, not the kind that comes with loud announcements or grand ceremonies, but the quiet kind that whispers in the hidden places of the heart. September 26 carries such a test. It will not shout at you. It will come as a still moment, a prompting, a nudge, a voice in the spirit that says, "This is the way. Walk in it." To obey will open a floodgate. To ignore will leave the gate closed. Obedience has always been the hinge of destiny. Think of Noah. The world around him laughed, mocked, and dismissed him as mad. Yet he built an ark when skies were clear. His obedience preserved his family and became the doorway for humanity's survival. It was not convenient. It was not celebrated, but it was obedience. September 26 will not require you to build an ark, but it will require the same heart, the willingness to obey when others do not understand. Imagine a farmer standing in his field. In his hand is a bag of seed. He can keep the seed, protect it, and hold it tight, or he can release it into the soil, trusting that what is buried will rise again, multiplied. Obedience feels like release, like letting go of what you would rather hold. But without that release, harvest never comes. September 26 will bring such a moment. The seed in your hand will either remain untouched or be sown into destiny. The Apostle James wrote in his letter, chapter 1, verse 22, "Do not merely listen to the word, and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says." This verse is not gentle suggestion, it is a warning. To hear without doing is self-deception. To know without acting is paralysis. The test of obedience is not measured in what you understand, but in what you do with what you understand. Think back to Abraham and Isaac. The command to place his son on the altar was beyond reason, beyond comfort, beyond logic. Yet Abraham obeyed, trusting that God could raise the promise even from the ashes. That obedience unlocked the covenant blessing that would flow through generations. Sometimes obedience feels like loss, but in the kingdom, obedience is always gain. Perhaps you are remembering times when obedience cost you, when it separated you from friends, when it shifted your plans, when it demanded surrender you did not want to give. Yet, looking back, those very sacrifices became markers of transformation. They shaped you, stripped you of what hindered you, and positioned you for something greater. September 26 will not be without cost, but every cost becomes seed for multiplied harvest. Picture a bridge stretching over a chasm. On your side lies what is familiar, safe, but limited. On the other side lies promise unknown, but full. The bridge is obedience. To cross it requires courage. To remain behind feels secure. But it leaves you short of what was meant to be yours. September 26 is the day the bridge is placed before you. Whether you cross or not is the test. The beauty of obedience is that it is not about perfection. It is about surrender. God is not seeking flawless execution. He is seeking willing hearts. Even faltering steps of obedience carry more power than confident strides of rebellion. What heaven longs for is not your performance, but your yes. Davlin, September 26 is approaching with a question written upon it. Will you obey when the whisper comes? If the answer is yes, the floodgates will open, and what heaven was holding back will be poured out. If the answer is no, the gate remains closed, and the moment passes silently by. Two paths stretch out before you now. One leads to increase, expansion, and the fulfillment of what has been whispered into your spirit for years. The other leads to loss, not because God withdraws his love, but because opportunity ignored becomes opportunity missed. September 26 is the crossroads where these two roads meet. Imagine standing at a fork in a forest. One path is wide, worn, and easy to follow. It requires no thought, no courage, no risk, but it leads back into the shadows, circling endlessly through the same wilderness. The other path is narrow, barely visible, requiring faith to step forward. It looks unfamiliar, even intimidating, but it leads to a summit where light breaks across the land. That choice is what September 26 places before you. In your own story, you have already faced smaller crossroads, times when you had to decide whether to compromise or stay true. Moments when you had to choose between silence and speaking the truth, between staying or moving forward. Each small choice has led you to this greater one. The weight of this decision is heavier, but so is the reward on the other side. From the book of Hosea, chapter 10, verse 12. Sow righteousness for yourselves. Reap the fruit of unfailing love. Break up your unplowed ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, until he showers righteousness on you. This verse speaks with urgency. It is time. The ground that has been hard must be broken. The season of waiting has reached its end. September 26 is not only about choosing a path, it is about seeking the Lord in the moment of decision, so that what is planted now brings harvest later. Think of a torch passed in a relay race. The runner can choose to drop it, letting the flame die, or to grasp it tightly, carrying it forward so the race continues. Your choice is not only for yourself, but for those who come after you. The flame you carry matters. Now comes a moment of sealing, not with many words, but with few. A declaration as short as a spark, yet as powerful as a wildfire. I invite you to write in the comments, "My path clear." Why these 3 words? Because they declare that you are no longer standing in confusion or hesitation. They say, "I see where heaven is leading me, and I will not turn back." They align your spirit with clarity, courage, and forward motion. When you write them, you mark yourself as one who does not stumble in fog, but walks in light. Let it be more than a phrase typed on a screen. Let it be a vow sealed in your heart. September 26 is not waiting for hesitation. It is calling for clarity. And with those 3 words, "My path clear," you rise to meet the call. And when you declare "My path clear," you are not pretending that every detail is visible. You are not claiming that the road will be free of challenge. What you are declaring is that confusion no longer rules you, that hesitation no longer chains you, that fear no longer whispers louder than faith. The path is clear, not because it is easy, but because it is chosen. And once chosen, heaven aligns every step, turning obstacles into stepping stones. September 26 will not ask for perfection, it will ask for decision. Your clarity will be the seed of your breakthrough. The image of a crown has followed you for longer than you realize, not a crown of gold and jewels, but a crown of calling, dignity, and divine purpose. September 26 is the moment that crown is brought before you. Yet it is not placed on your head by force, it is offered, extended, waiting for you to bow in humility and lift your hands in readiness. Think of a crown as the final chapter of a long story. Every tear, every sacrifice, every choice that seemed hidden has been writing the lines that lead to this moment. Crowns are not given to those who drift, they are given to those who endure. The prize of heaven is not stumbled upon by accident. It is awarded to those who walk faithfully even when the path is steep. September 26 is when the crown is set before you, shining in the light of obedience. Imagine a marathon runner, mile after mile. Sweat pours, muscles ache, breath grows heavy. But when the finish line appears, the pain turns into power. The sound of the crowd fades, and the runner hears only the voice inside. You are almost there. September 26 is your finish line. Every struggle has been the race. The crown is the reward. The Apostle Paul wrote in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 25, "Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it for a crown that will not last, but we for one that lasts forever. This is what your crown represents, not fleeting applause, not temporary reward, but something eternal, a recognition not just of what you have endured, but of who you have become. Think also of a garden in full bloom. Each flower did not appear overnight. Seeds were planted, soil was broken, water was poured, and sunlight endured. Then, at the right time, beauty burst forth, undeniable and radiant. Your crown is that garden. It is the proof that hidden labor produces visible glory. September 26 is when the garden comes into sight. No longer waiting, no longer hidden, or see yourself as a sculptor, chiseling stone day after day. Others only see dust and fragments, but you know something is forming. And then comes the day when the statue is revealed, complete, breathtaking. The crown is that revelation. What looked like fragments were building toward beauty. This is why I gently extend an invitation to you, not out of demand, not out of pressure, but as an act of resonance. Like this word, if it has stirred your heart, the way a nod affirms that you have heard. Share it as one would pass a torch, carrying fire into another's darkness. Subscribe if you sense this journey is yours to walk. As one who plants roots beside a flowing river, choosing not to be uprooted again. These are not small gestures. They are metaphors of agreement. Each is a way of saying, I recognize my crown is near, and I will not miss it. They are symbolic acts, not forced actions. Just as the runner lifts his arms at the finish line, just as the gardener breathes deeply at the bloom, your response is an outward reflection of inward joy. September 26 is not waiting to crown hesitation, it is waiting to crown the faithful. And when the moment comes, you will see that every choice, every step, every tear has not been wasted. The crown will shine, and you will finally know it was worth it all. When a crown is near, opposition grows louder. Voices rise, not always from strangers, but often from those close enough to wound. They may question your resolve, mock your decisions, or attempt to sow doubt in your spirit. This is not accidental. It is the age-old strategy of the adversary to weaken the chosen before the moment of release. September 26 is not only about what heaven is offering, it is also about whether you will withstand the noise of opposition. Remember David before he faced Goliath. His own brothers ridiculed him, asking why he was there, accusing him of arrogance. Yet David refused to internalize their words. He looked past them, keeping his focus on the giant before him and the God within him. That is the posture you must carry. Opposition may surround you, but destiny is not decided by the voices of men. It is sealed by the voice of God. Picture yourself as a tree standing in a storm. The wind rages, rain lashes, and branches shake violently. To the eye, it looks as though the tree may fall, but unseen beneath the soil are roots deep and wide, gripping the earth with unshakable strength. The storm may strip leaves, it may bend the trunk, but it cannot uproot what is deeply grounded. You are that tree. Opposition may shake you, but your roots in God will hold you steady. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 11, "Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. These words are not comfortable, but they are truth. Opposition is not a curse, it is confirmation. Insults are not proof of failure, they are evidence of faithfulness. The voices against you are unwilling witnesses of the anointing upon you. Think of another image, a ship breaking through waves. The louder the crash of water, the closer it is to reaching open sea. The resistance is greatest, not in the middle of the ocean, but at the boundary where the coast gives way to freedom. That is why the noise grows louder as September 26 approaches. You are closer than you think. Perhaps you have already heard some of these voices. Doubt whispering in your own mind, telling you the promise is too good to be true. Friends who laugh at your convictions, saying you take faith too seriously. Circumstances shouting that nothing is changing, even as heaven is moving. These are not random, they are tests. And every test is a chance to prove that your faith is not built on sand, but on rock. Do not despise the noise. Do not let bitterness grow in your heart. Instead, let the voices push you deeper into trust. When you feel misunderstood, remember that the prophets, apostles, and even Jesus himself walked the same path. The chosen are rarely celebrated until after their obedience bears fruit. September 26 is a day of destiny, but it will not come without resistance. The enemy knows he cannot take what God has prepared, so he tries to make you surrender it yourself. Do not lay down your crown because of the noise. Do not silence your destiny because of ridicule. Let opposition become the wind that fuels your flame, the wave that proves your ship is sailing, the storm that reveals the depth of your roots. There is a rhythm in the way heaven speaks, often through numbers, patterns, and signs that echo deeper meaning. September 26 is not isolated. It resonates with divine timing, with prophetic alignment, with a countdown in the unseen realm. You have walked through shadows, through delays, through voices of doubt, and now heaven is weaving together a code of confirmation. Consider the story of Gideon, unsure of his calling, overwhelmed by fear. He asked for signs dew on the fleece. Then dew withheld. God met him in patience, affirming that the calling was true. The signs were not for God's benefit, they were for Gideon's courage. Numbers in your journey are the same. They are not for heaven's assurance but for yours. They remind you that you are not wandering, but walking in rhythm with God's design. Think of a clock striking at midnight. For hours, its ticking goes unnoticed. But at the appointed time, the bells sound. The ringing is not random, it is timed, precise, and undeniable. September 26 is heaven's striking hour, when what has been hidden in silence will be announced with clarity. From the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 37, For in just a little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. This verse is both comfort and challenge. Comfort, because the wait will not last forever. Challenge, because the time will not delay for hesitation. September 26 is appointed. It will arrive. And when it does, response is required. Picture yourself as a traveler standing before a locked gate. On the post beside it is a code. To others, it seems random, meaningless numbers. But to you, it is recognition. You know the code. And when you enter it, the gate swings open. That is what heaven is doing now. giving you a prophetic number that marks alignment. I invite you to write the number 999 inches the comments. Why 999? Because it speaks of divine completion and transition. While 9 alone represents finality, the 999 emphasizes a cycle closing so that something new can begin. To mark 999 is to declare, I am ready to step out of what has ended and into what heaven has prepared next. I do not cling to the old, I embrace the new. Oh, do not treat this lightly. Numbers in Scripture carried weight: 40 for testing, 12 for government, 7 for completion. 9 has long been associated with birthing and fulfillment. To declare 999 is to align yourself with the season of endings that give way to beginnings. With the birth of a new chapter on September 26, this act is not ritual, but resonance. When you type it, you are not performing for others, you are agreeing with heaven. It is your way of saying, on September 26, I choose not to dwell in the past, but to enter the future. I choose not to fear endings, but to rejoice in what is beginning. I believe this is my transition into fullness. End of teen. The code is written. The gate is before you. The bells are about to strike. Align yourself now, and when September 26 arrives, you will walk through into the abundance waiting on the other side. And remember this, the number 999 is not an ending of despair, but an ending of release. It is heaven's way of saying, the old has served its purpose. Now, step into what is prepared. Ami, your agreement is not small. It is the echo that unlocks the gate of September 26. There is a reason you feel the weight of this season more intensely than others. It is because you are not meant to simply survive. You are meant to carry fire. The chosen are not hidden forever. September 26 is not just about receiving a promise. It is about stepping into the role of a torchbearer, one who lights the path for those still wandering in the dark. Imagine walking into a cavern so deep that light barely touches the walls. The silence is heavy, the air thick, and every step feels uncertain. Then, a single torch is lit. Shadows scatter. Pathways appear. And what once felt terrifying becomes walkable. That is what you are to others. Your endurance, your obedience, your persistence, it becomes illumination. September 26 is when that torch is pressed into your hand. We are reminded in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This verse is not abstract, it is alive in you. Darkness has pressed against you, trying to silence your voice, bury your dreams, and extinguish your flame. Yet the fact that you are still here is evidence of unquenchable light. And that light is not meant to remain small, it is meant to guide others. Think back to Moses descending from Mount Sinai. His face shone with the reflection of God's glory. The people saw it and trembled. Not because Moses was different in stature, but because he carried what they could not ignore. The chosen carry what others cannot explain. September 26 is your Mount Sinai descent. The day when what you have carried in secret becomes visible to those around you. Consider another image, a lighthouse on the shore. For years it may stand unused, its tower silent, its glass unlit. But when the storm comes, when ships are tossed and waves rise high, that light suddenly becomes the most critical beacon in the sea. You are that lighthouse, your years of silence, waiting, and preparation have not been wasted. They have built a structure that can withstand storms. Now comes the moment when the light within you shines, steady and strong, guiding others to safety. Carrying the torch is not about perfection. It is not about having every answer or never stumbling. It is about willingness to burn when others hide. The torchbearer knows that the flame they carry is not their own. It is given, entrusted, holy. September 26 is when heaven entrusts you anew, not just with a promise for yourself, but with light for others. The enemy fears torchbearers more than warriors. A warrior may fight for himself, but a torchbearer ignites others. Fire spreads. Light multiplies. Hope is contagious. When you walk forward carrying the flame of obedience, it awakens those around you to believe again. That is why your season has been so hard. The enemy was not only fighting you, he was fighting the fire you will spread. This is why the weight feels heavier now. You are not carrying a gift for yourself alone. You are carrying an inheritance for many. Your breakthrough will ripple outward. Your torch will ignite countless others. So take heart. September 26 is not only the fulfillment of what was promised to you, it is the day when heaven declares, "This one will carry the flame, and once lit, the fire will not be hidden." Even as you prepare for September 26, you must understand what happens beyond sight. You see only what your eyes can grasp: the days, the struggles, the pressing decisions, but there is another battlefield layered above and around you. Angelic hosts and forces of darkness have already collided, warring over your destiny. What you feel as heaviness, confusion, or sudden waves of resistance are echoes of that unseen struggle. The scriptures give glimpses into this mystery. Daniel fasted for 21 days, unaware that from the first day his prayer was heard. Yet the messenger angel was resisted by the prince of Persia until Michael, the archangel, intervened. What Daniel felt as delay was in truth the reverberation of battle in the unseen realm. September 26 is no ordinary day because heaven's armies have been mobilized around it. Picture the sky before a storm. Clouds gather, lightning flickers, and thunder rolls in the distance. On the ground, people rush for shelter, sensing something immense moving above them. That is the sense your spirit has carried recently. You may not see the full battle, but you feel its pressure, like a storm pressing low. We are reminded in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." This verse strips away illusions. The resistance you faced is not coincidence. The sudden obstacles, the rising doubts, the conflicts that appear just when you are closest to breakthrough, these are not random. They are tactics from an adversary, desperate to distract you before the appointed day. Imagine yourself as a soldier holding a lantern in a night battle. Around you, chaos surges, arrows fly, swords clash, shadows move. Yet the lantern in your hand remains lit. Enemies may lunge, but they cannot extinguish the flame. That lantern is your faith. It is your weapon and your witness. The unseen war rages, but as long as the flame remains, you are untouchable. There is also comfort in this battle. For every force against you, greater forces are for you. Elisha once prayed that his servant's eyes would be opened, and suddenly the hills were filled with horses and chariots of fire. What seemed overwhelming became insignificant compared to heaven's armies. You, too, are surrounded. September 26 is guarded not only by your endurance, but by heaven's intervention. Think of an orchestra tuning before a grand performance. Each instrument makes its own sound. Chaotic, almost unpleasant. But when the conductor raises his hand, every sound aligns into harmony. What feels like chaos in your life is only the tuning. The conductor is about to raise his hand, and the battle will shift into victory's song. The enemy would like you to believe you are alone, outnumbered, or unprepared. Yet the truth is the opposite. You are protected, defended, and strengthened by powers far greater than what opposes you. The war is not proof of your weakness, it is evidence of your importance. The closer the crown, the fiercer the fight. September 26 is not only the day of your decision, it is the day heaven's victory over your destiny is displayed. The unseen battle is already bending toward triumph. The war has raged, but the outcome has never been in doubt. The sound of a trumpet is not easily ignored. When it pierces the air, it demands attention, stirring hearts with urgency and summoning people to move. September 26 is such a trumpet, a call not to sleep, not to drift, but to rise. It is heaven's announcement that the moment you have waited for is no longer distant. Think of Joshua leading Israel around Jericho. For 6 days they walked in silence, circling walls that refused to fall. On the 7th day, with the blast of trumpets and the cry of obedience, the impossible crumbled. September 26 will feel like that moment. What you thought was immovable will shake. What towered over you will collapse. But the trumpet must be answered. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the first letter to the Thessalonians, chapter 4, verse 16, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with the voice of the archangel and the trumpet call of God. The dead in Christ will rise first." This verse speaks of ultimate fulfillment, yet it also paints a picture of how God moves, with clarity, with sound, with calls that cannot be mistaken. September 26 carries that kind of sound for your destiny. Imagine standing at a shoreline at dawn. The tide begins to rise, creeping closer with each wave. You feel the water lap at your feet, then your knees, then your waist. It is irresistible, gentle yet strong. That tide is the call of September 26. You can resist, or you can surrender and let it carry you into depths you have never known. Now I pause to extend to you not commands, but invitations. Liking this word is like lifting your lantern to say, "I see the light, and I will not hide from it." Sharing it is like releasing a dove into the sky, carrying the message to places you cannot reach, so another soul may hear the trumpet too. Subscribing is like planting a tree beside the river, choosing to remain rooted in this flow of truth, letting your life bear fruit in every season. And what of your own voice? It matters. I invite you to leave a comment, not as noise, but as a stone set upon the altar. Your words become a testimony, a marker that you heard the trumpet and answered. Even a short declaration, even a whispered prayer typed in faith, becomes a memorial in the unseen realms. Do not see these acts as digital gestures. See them as metaphors of obedience. symbols of resonance. Just as Israel's shout was not about volume but about agreement, so your response is about saying, "Yes, I hear. Yes, I rise. Yes, I will not miss this day." End of The trumpet is sounding. The tide is rising. September 26 is almost here. And heaven waits to see how you will answer. And remember this, every response you make is like striking a chord in a symphony. Alone, it may sound small, but when joined with the harmony of heaven, it becomes part of a song that shakes the earth. Do not underestimate the beauty of resonance. Your lantern lifted, your dove released, your tree planted, your stone placed. These are not forgotten. They rise as memorials before heaven, proof that you heard the trumpet and answered. September 26 is not a day to spectate. It is a day to participate in the unfolding story of destiny. Obedience is never without reward. September 26 is not simply the climax of waiting, it is the unveiling of what has been hidden, the manifestation of what has been promised. You have endured seasons of silence, but silence was never absence. It was preparation. Now, as the day draws close, the veil begins to lift. Think of Joseph. For years, he carried dreams that seemed buried in betrayal, slavery, and prison. To others, his story looked like endless misfortune. But there came a day when the dungeon door opened and Pharaoh's palace became his new home. Everything shifted in a single day. September 26 will be such a day for you, the turning of the page, the sudden unveiling of what God has been weaving in secret. Consider also the prophet Elijah. He prayed for rain after years of drought, sending his servant to look again and again. 6 times the sky remained empty, but on the 7th time, a small cloud appeared, the size of a man's hand. That cloud was the sign of abundance on its way. September 26 is your cloud on the horizon, small to the eye, but signaling torrents of blessing. From the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 13. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. This is the rhythm of your journey. The night has been long, the tears real, the weight heavy, but night is not eternal. Morning comes, and with it rejoicing. September 26 is your sunrise, the breaking of a new day, the moment when shadows retreat. Picture a curtain in a theater. For so long, the stage has been hidden, the actors preparing, the story waiting to unfold. Then comes the moment when the curtain rises. The story was always there, but now it is revealed for all to see. That curtain rising is what September 26 will feel like, your preparation giving way to manifestation. Or imagine a seedling breaking through soil. For months it seemed buried, unseen, forgotten. Yet beneath the surface, roots formed, life stirred. At last, it pushes upward, breaking into light. What felt hidden was always alive. You are that seedling, and September 26 is your breaking moment. The unveiling will not be quiet. It will carry weight, glory, and recognition, not to exalt you, but to reveal the one who sustained you. The honor placed upon your life will be a testimony of his faithfulness. What was hidden in obscurity will shine in clarity. Do not fear this unveiling. Some resist visibility, preferring to remain unseen. But when heaven chooses to unveil, it is not for your ego, it is for His glory. Your story will become a mirror, reflecting light into places others thought unreachable. And remember this, unveiling is not the end, but the beginning. Joseph did not stop after the palace opened. His leadership changed nations. Elijah did not stop after the cloud appeared. Rain poured and the land revived. September 26 will not be the conclusion of your story, but the release of a new chapter. Prepare your heart. The unveiling will be swift, sudden, undeniable. The curtain is rising. The seed is breaking. The dawn is near. What heaven held back is about to burst forth, and nothing can prevent it. And this is the hope you must carry into September 26, that goodness is not locked away in eternity alone, but will break into your present life. The unveiling is not distant, it is near, tangible, waiting. Lift your eyes, for you will see His goodness with your own eyes. There comes a moment when nothing remains the same, when the weight of waiting gives way to the freedom of fulfillment. September 26 is such a threshold. It will not leave you unchanged. Once you step through, your life shifts permanently, not only in what you have, but in who you become. Think of Jacob wrestling through the night. He began that encounter as a man on the run, burdened with fear and guilt. By dawn, he walked away limping but transformed, renamed Israel, forever marked by the touch of God. September 26 carries that kind of transformation. You may not walk away with everything you expect, but you will walk away with identity solidified, destiny sealed, and heaven's mark upon you. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6, being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Completion does not mean finality, it means maturity. What was started in your spirit, what has been nurtured in silence, will come to a stage of fulfillment. The process has been long, but the work is sure. September 26 is not the end of your journey, it is the unveiling of maturity, the step into fullness. Picture a blacksmith's forge. Metal is heated until glowing, hammered until shaped, cooled until strong. The process is harsh, but the result is unbreakable. That is what the past seasons have been for you. Fire, hammer, shaping. September 26 is the day when the blacksmith lays down his hammer and reveals the finished blade tested, strengthened, ready. Or see yourself as a traveler climbing a mountain. The path was steep, the air thin, the obstacles constant. Many times you wanted to stop, to turn back. Yet now you reach the summit. The view spreads before you, vast and breathtaking, making every painful step worth it. September 26 is that summit moment, the perspective gained, the horizon expanded, the journey vindicated. It is not only about what you receive, it is about what you carry into the world. The shift that happens in you will ripple outward, touching those around you. Just as light spills over the horizon at dawn, so the transformation in your spirit will spill into your family, your community, your generation. You will become a living testimony that waiting is never wasted and obedience is never in vain. Do not imagine this day as an ending, for it is not. Endings close doors, this day opens them. Endings bury, this day births. September 26 will leave you never the same again, because it will awaken what has long been sleeping inside you. And so, you step forward into the new. The old season bows its head. The wilderness falls behind. The chains drop off. You rise clothed with strength, carrying light, crowned with purpose. The world may not yet understand, but heaven applauds. September 26 is not random. It is written, and when you cross it, you will know deep within, I am changed. I am marked. I am unshakable, never the same again. And from that day forward, every step you take will carry the fragrance of destiny fulfilled. You will no longer question. If you are chosen, you will walk as one who knows it, lives it, breathes it. September 26 will not be just a date in memory. It will be the day heaven's script became your reality. The script comes to its closing breath, but the message does not end here. September 26 has been spoken of as a day of decision, unveiling, and destiny. What you have read was not mere words. It was a mirror of your calling, a trumpet sounding in the distance, a whisper of heaven drawing you near. You have walked through the valleys in these chapters. You have stood at the crossroads, felt the storm winds, endured the silence, and glimpsed the fire waiting to be placed in your hands. Now you know, ignoring this day is not an option. It carries too much weight, too much promise, too much of heaven's design for your life. But hear me clearly, your journey does not have to be walked in silence or in isolation. Every response you make here is more than digital. Liking is like setting your stone in a river, declaring, I pass this way, and I believe. Sharing is like lifting a torch into the night sky, letting your flame awaken others who wander in darkness. Subscribing is like building a tent on sacred ground, saying, I choose to remain where the presence flows. Not, and what of your own words? They matter. Your comment is not noise. It is a testimony, a seed planted in the soil of this moment. When you write, you set an altar in the unseen realm, a marker that says, I heard, I believed, I responded. Not, so let your heart guide you now. Respond, not because you must, but because you may. September 26 is rising like dawn, and your choice today is the echo that will carry into eternity. Step into it with courage.